Okay, so now we're getting on to audience, selecting your audience. This is really, really important because doing this piece correctly is what's going to determine whether or not you're getting in front of business opportunities that match your ideal business profile, and it's also going to allow you to control your costs. Okay, so this is what makes or breaks your overall lead capture strategy. It's your audience. Now, if you want your audience to live a full and robust future, you want to perform CPR, okay? And that is, you want to figure out the circumstances which will let you generate a profile, which will let you determine the resources that they are looking for to fulfill their goals, okay? Now, what do I mean by this whole CPR thing? All right, let's talk about circumstance. I keep on mentioning this over and over and over again in hopes that it will sink in, but people don't move on a whim usually. Sometimes they do, but for the most part, it's as a reaction to a life event, a triggering event. There's a set of circumstances that unfold that take something that was just kind of a fuzzy wish or a hope and turn it into a hard reality with a timeline. Okay? So your circumstances are your trigger events. All right? And you're going to have a different set of messages based on which event you're speaking to. And it's going to generally be a different person that you're speaking to. Now I'll give you an example. So when we think about trigger events, right? Someone in the household is born, somebody dies, somebody got married, somebody got divorced, somebody got a job, somebody lost a job, somebody signed a new lease, somebody's lease ran out, a house burned down, a new house is being built, home goes under contract. Whatever it is, there is always something going on. It could be job transfers, it could be retirements, it could be, any number of things. Okay, so circumstances, and what you're going to have to do, and this is the challenge, is that different circumstances require different messages to a different audience. All right, your job. The ideal thing that you can do is figure out who is your perfect client and start there. Okay? So for example, right now I have found a sweet spot with folks that have been living in their big 3,000 square foot home. They've raised some children, they've sent them all off to college, and now they're thinking about retirement in the next 5 to 10 years, and so they're trying to get a smaller financial footprint. Okay, and what they're doing is they're selling a big home and they're stepping down into a small one, or they're selling a big home and now they're moving out of state to their dream retirement location. Okay, I'm doing a lot of these. Now this will change, but that just is where the demographic is right now. When you look at the total number of people that are in the population where I do business, there's a very large number of these folks, and they have a real specific set of needs that I just happen to be able to fill easily using the systems and processes that I have in place. Okay, so their needs line up perfectly with my business profile. So that's my ideal client. Yours might be different. Maybe yours is servicing divorces, or maybe yours is bank repossessions. Whatever it is, there's a set of circumstances that exist for your client that creates the trigger event that they have to react to. So your goal is to figure out what those circumstances are, and that will allow you to develop a customer profile. Who is this person really? So that you can use messages that resonate with them. Okay. So once we figure out circumstance, that will let us determine profile. All right. So in my example, right, if I've got somebody who's got that big $300,000 or $400,000 house, which at the time that I'm shooting this video in the area that I do business, that is kind of upper mid-level in terms of the socioeconomic scale. All right, we know that this person, if they're selling their big 20-year house where they raise their kids, they're probably in order to have 20-year-old kids going to college, they probably bought that house in their late 20s, early 30s, which means that they're going to be in their late 40s or early 50s. Right? So that lets me establish an age profile. All right? Then this particular customer type is probably also going to be married. All right? They're probably also going to be dual income. They're probably also going to have a fair amount of equity in their home because they've been there the entire time that they've been raising their children. If they're moving somewhere else, I am finding lately that a high percentage of them own a second property in another state. These are all bits and pieces that we can assemble to create a picture of this person, so we get a real clear picture of this person, you know? So you may even go so far as to create what's called either a persona or an avatar, which is actually like a caricature of your ideal client. You know, this is Jane and John, and you know, John is 45 and Jane is 44, and he's an engineer and she is an accountant, and they have 2.3 children, and they have a golden retriever, and you know, they always dreamed of moving to a house in the Carolinas, and they've been saving and they've been paying things off, and they drive conservative vehicles. You know, you get a really crystal clear picture as to what these folks look like, because that's going to let you craft your message. Okay. Now, if anybody's shaking your head and going, no, 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 you know, fair housing law and all that kind of stuff, okay, you have to have catch-all advertising that goes out to everybody in order to make sure that you're square with the law. All right. But then once you've done that, now you can take you can take that broader population of leads, and you can retarget, and you can dice down, and you can tailor your message to individual people with goals and dreams and desires that you're trying to help fulfill. And you can't do that with a really broad generic message. You have to do specific messaging to people in their specific circumstances, and for that you need a profile. Now, once you have a profile, you can start to understand the resources that they're going to need in order to make the move happen. Okay, so for example, in the situation in the example that I provided, you know, when you have somebody who's got one of these big 3,000 or 4,000 square foot homes, you can imagine that they have lots and lots and lots of stuff, right? They've got kids that grew up in the houses, and they got rooms full of hockey sticks and posters and basketballs and you know, you name it, trophies, is all of this stuff, and there's beds and chairs and desks and, you know, just stuff, and you got these big houses, and they're trying to get small. They're probably trying to move into something less than half the size. Okay, so one of the resources that they're going to be looking for is how to get rid of stuff, right? Where can they donate it? Where can they give it away? How do they throw it away? Are there pickup services? You know, what is the most effective way of getting rid of stuff, right? That's one thing that they need. Another resource they need is they really need to understand how much their home is worth, right? So they may be looking for values. All right, they want to get every last penny out of their home, so and they have some money saved up, and they're smart with their money, so you know, they're going to actually stage their house. They're going to take some time to prep it, and they may be over a year out. And during that period of time, when they're thinking about what to do with their home, they don't want to spend their money foolishly, so maybe one of the resources they need is staging advice, right? So that's something that you can provide to these folks. Again, it might be dozens of different things that you're providing depending on what the profile is, and that's going to be determined by the circumstance. Okay, so don't let me put you in a box by just using my whole you know, retiree scale down thing. There's lots and lots and lots of different reasons for people to move, and everybody is going to be best when performing in a niche that meets their personality and their skill set. Okay, so when you think of your perfect client, the one that, you know, if you could just get rid of everybody else and fill your entire database with this one type of client, someone who's friendly, someone who's going to appreciate you, you know, somebody that's going to take your advice and act on your direction, and really you can knock it out of the park every single time because these are your people. You know, what does that look like? That's where you need to spend some time, and you need to create a customer profile or an avatar or a persona so that you know who you're directing your messaging to, because when you can speak specifically to their situation, it will resonate with them. If it resonates with them, they will take action. They're going to want to do business with you because you are speaking as though you've got a window into their soul. Okay, this needs to be a very, very personal thing that you're doing if you want to do it in such a way that you can automate it and do it on a broad scale. The message has to be personal in order to be able to put it out on a broad scale. I know that seems kind of counterintuitive, but you're not as effective in the automated stuff as you are when you're face-to-face with somebody, because you don't have that instant feedback with them of talking back and forth. So you really have to go out of your way to figure out what is that back and forth conversation going to look like if it was happening face-to-face. What are they going to ask you for? What are you going to, how are you going to deliver on their questions? so that they feel comfortable moving forward with you. Okay, so that is the power of selecting audience. All right. Now we're getting ready to get into the next piece of this, and that is source. Okay, where in the world do you find these folks? All right, so we're going to talk about some of the different lead sources and using those things to best advantage for different sets, for different types of audiences. Okay, so that's the video coming up next. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.